this is where the, hey, if you do it, I'll do it problem really started.
The camber and the toe arms for the Z. And
do that again?
The toe arms. You're so far away. Look at what this guy drove here.
What's up?
What up? What is this?
This is my grandfather's 61 Chevrolet Corvette.
Dude,
Honduras Maroon.
that's sick.
Weather was too nice not to bring her out today.
I thought you were gonna drive the M, and I was excited to film this clip. I was like, please tell me you're not gonna drive the Jeep. And then you upped it. Look at this unit.
I spent pretty much half the day yesterday detailing and, you know, getting the M all clean, and then put it kind of on the side of the garage and dollied it over. So.
Did Sam help you out? Did he come by?
And he's coming back tomorrow. We're gonna do this one tomorrow. So I was like, what better way to prep it for getting clean other than to drive it? So. Yeah.
This thing's pristine. This is my first time seeing it.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet, dude?
No.
At all?
What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever unnamed podcast. That's not the name of the podcast. We just haven't figured out a name yet, but we're sending it. We had the idea to do this podcast, so we're just gonna have some fun, talk with the boys, have some brewskis, hang out, and just talk about each other's lives, day jobs, how we afford this, and all that good stuff. We have Andrew today. Welcome. He's my best friend for many years now. We actually started drifting together.
Dangerously, yeah. You're financially dangerous for me, correct?
Yeah, we started off with the Z's. Financially dangerous is the perfect way to explain it. Andrew's out of the drift game now, but let's dial back a little bit. We started drifting together, but by trade, you're a Stancy boy.
Yes, my first car was a Honda Accord. I got it in high school. It was my grandfather's. Kind of diving into that a little bit deeper, the reason kind of I fell in love.
Gold Honda Accord.
Gold inside, gold outside, but it was 5-speed. It was 5-speed.
It's a manual. That's all that matters.
With, I believe it was a K24 in it.
I have no idea.
You know, I could be wrong. Could be wrong. But, you know, that car was where I really learned how to do everything / gained confidence in myself. I was kind of that guy in high school where if someone wanted to drop their car and they're like, hey, you know, I want to do coilovers. They're like, okay, come on, use my garage. Like, I was fortunate enough that, you know, my mom had a house that allowed, we had a 3-car garage. So not only did I get to park inside the garage, I could just kick her out for an afternoon or evening, or maybe a day or two, depending on how bad the little project got. But she was super cool about it. And she was, I mean, nervous because we were like, you know, messing with things that could
going under the car, putting it on jack stands, all that stuff.
But I was kind of that guy that was like, hey, you want to drop your car? Yeah, come on over, we'll figure it out. Or hey, like, you want to change this tire? Or hey, like, it was all pretty like above board stuff. Nothing like, I wasn't dropping transmissions or pulling motors or anything like that. Like that's next level. But you know, as far as like wheel changes, spacers, rolling fenders, swapping suspension out, lower control arms, upper control arms, you know, adjusting camber plates, like, you know, that kind of stuff I was all game for, and I just enjoyed the hobby, enjoyed the ability to continue to learn, enjoyed the friend aspect of it. There's so many people I met that I still have relationships with to this day from that, whether it was like, hey, you know, I just busted an axle, and like, oh, I got a couple here in the garage, let me run over, or, you know, whatever it is. So
all the high school guys that you were doing the stand stuff with, you're pretty much still cool with to this day.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember. So Andrew and I went to high school together, and I remember seeing you all had bagged or mainly coilover cars back then. Mm-hmm. We all would roll up together, and like your cars were just
shit boxes.
Yeah, but they were like the what are these kids doing? Yeah. And at that age, you're so young, you don't even like you get like the stand scene and stuff like that. Like you get like modifying cars, but like as all like the people like me who didn't do that stuff, it's like, what are these guys doing to their cars? It's like old grumpy people.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of us going to high school, you know, we went to, I would say, a middle class high school area, maybe a little bit above.
Yeah,
right?
Without a doubt.
So we were kind of in this weird spot between like the country guys, and then there wasn't really city guys, right? So like everyone in our high school was like bigger lifted up trucks, or they were driving their mommy or daddy's BMW, or like there was no like train horns, exactly. Like there was no kind of like this outlaw like car group outside of like, you know, the friends I feel like I had, we're not talking about a bunch of people. I think it was like maybe 10 or 12 of us.
No, yeah, it was very small group.
Very small. And of course, we caught a bunch of shit, and oh well, like, you know, it is what it is. But we enjoyed it, and we bonded over it, and we went to car meets, and you know, that's how I met Garrett, one of my best friends too, outside of you, of course, Tom. Zach is another one of them. Kurt, us learning and working on the cars and building that kind of camaraderie, I think. It gave us something to do in high school that wasn't drinking, that wasn't trying to sneak around and go smoke cigarettes or, nothing. It wasn't anything terribly bad, So it felt like a healthy hobby, at the time.
So you had the Accord that you had on coils, 3-piece wheels back then?
No, those wheels I ordered, they were 3SDMs, .06s. At the time, they were Euro spec only. So I think if I remember correctly, I found out about those wheels by watching, I think it was called Racism, which was a type of show in Europe. And it was a wheel like that 3SDM had like just released.
Yeah.
So it was like not that everybody wanted them. I just saw them and fell in love with them. I was like, those wheels are sick. Like I just have to have them. And maybe like pop the wheels up on the screen here. But because of course the wheels are staggered and of course those wheels are directional. So that means that every single wheel on each corner is
unique to itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
So of course, like I order them, and I spend, I don't know, $2,000, let's call it, which back in the day, like that was a lot of money. Like that was a lot of money.
Still today is a crap load of money.
So I spend, the $2,000 on the wheels, and then of course only 3 come. So my stupid ass is not like, I'm not going to let these nice wheels just sit in the garage. So I just rocked all 3 and just left one stock wheel in the one corner.
Oh my, where was the 4th one?
Basically got lost in shipping. But because I had bought the wheels from a Euro company, it was like pulling teeth to get anyone to respond. No one spoke English, obviously. Did
you ever get the 4th one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
It was like 4 weeks that I went like that.
Okay.
So it wasn't anything crazy. But because they're all individual, they would say, hey, we're making this batch that's 18 by 8.5 plus 35 on this day. Hey, we're going to make this batch that's... So you know what I mean? Like it just...
You had to wait for the production run to come.
Right. And then they were originally going to wait for all 4 to be done. And then it had been like 6 months. And I'm like, dude, just ship me what you have. Like, fuck, come on, man.
Yeah.
So that's basically how I ended up going down. So drove that car pretty much through high school. And then next was when I really got into the Stancy Boy stuff.
Yeah, that's the BRZ.
Yeah, so
that car was clean.
I loved that car, man.
That car was. And now, funny enough, it was like the dark blue. What's the color? You probably know that.
So it was a Galaxy Blue Metallic.
And then fast forward 8-ish years, almost, maybe not quite. Your brother buys pretty much the exact replica. He didn't build it to your scale, but now it's like you have that car back in the family. Almost.
And he's actively trying to sell it and actively trying to convince me to buy it.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to buy it?
I don't have any space, man. I'm out of space.
You get back in the drift game.
I don't know. That BRZ though, man, that was such a silly financial decision, but it was so awesome. But, looking back on it, that was back in the day where, so if I remember correctly, I think I paid $15,500 for the car. And I drove the piss out of it. I drove it to Clean Culture in Daytona, Clean Culture in West Palm. I drove it to Camber Gang events.
Lost your keys in West Palm.
Yeah, but I lost my keys in West Palm at a formal, which was terrible. Shout out to Garrett for driving 6 hours round trip from West Palm to Fort Myers, Tampa, Fort Myers, and then straight to Orlando to get to the show at 8 a.m. rolling. Drove through the night, dude.
So that car was bagged on 3-piece wheels.
Yep. So I bought that car, and I don't even think I had it for a full week before I had 3-piece wheels secured and en route, and then also an airlift bag system en route. And the silly thing about that car is the wheels were cool or whatever, but they weren't like showy enough. They were like avant-gardes, I think F141s, if I remember correctly, something in that, whatever. Triple chrome, obviously, chrome lips, chrome face. And that just wasn't enough. Like I brought the car to the events and I was like, oh, well, like I'm just not winning anything. I'm like, the car's clean. Like I think I won.
But what was it technically? It was just bagged on wheels.
Bagged on wheels, but then I had the full custom wood trunk setup. I had the airlift system all decked out.
But in terms of like aesthetics on the outside of the car.
Yeah, but see, that's where I was confused back in the day too. I was like, oh, well, like people were winning, didn't have anything nicer than I had. People were winning were on like single piece wheels, that were, they're bagged, but like their interiors were stock. Like if I jump back to, I purchased a 2013 BRZ in the tail end / very beginning of 2015. So like I was completely heavily modifying essentially almost a quote unquote brand new car.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, like the BRZ lineage, the BRZ started in 2013. So like I was
So it was a new car, like still technically like.
Yeah. Oh, I have full build list, of course, somewhere I bet. But like, I did full taillights. I did the third brake light. I did, spoiler, diffuser, side skirts, lip, headlight adjustment, and like, a couple small like under the hood mod, sway bar, steering rack, like OEM plus touches, shift
Yeah.
knob, like again, nothing crazy like either of your current like race cars or kind of like
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of the past, I guess.
But in
next
terms of
cars.
like the stance side of things, I guess it was more than just wheels
Yep.
and coils, like I said, or wheels and bags.
Yeah, that was bothering me though at the time. So what I would do, or what like kind of continued to push me, was like, like I just think the wheels aren't aggressive enough. The wheels just aren't aggressive enough. So I'm like, okay. Well, what wheels are gonna like change the game? Like, what are some wheels that I think are just like killer? So I'm like lightly looking, right? And I can't remember the dude's name for the life of me, but there was a guy locally that happened to have a Stance Wars. Shoot, I'm gonna have to look this up later. But so there was a root beer brown, wide bodied, and I think it was Rocket Bunny at the time, BRZ.
Okay.
That won Stance Wars in Seattle.
Okay.
Okay, so his wheels were something crazy. I think they were like by 13 in the front and by 15 in the rear, or by 12 and 14, like something like crazy wide.
Yeah.
Like they were never gonna fit on my car, right? And they were Arden Motions. I can't remember the exact design, but they were white face, gold hardware, polished lips. Beautiful.
I remember those. That's the picture I really like of your car is on those wheels.
So, have I told you the story about how I even got those wheels, or the?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, so that was back when I was trying to get more involved in the scene, and Art in Motion was like an up and coming company. Like Vossen in the beginning, like Vossen had like a little bit of clout that came around them.
Yeah.
Like they were Miami based, like monoblock, like et cetera, et cetera. But Art in Motion was more like very facey, stancy wheels. And I'm like, okay, well if I'm gonna build a stance car, like I want something facey, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So, come to find out, like that guy that had won, I was just scrolling on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist probably back in the day. Yes, this dude that I picked him up from, yes, it was Craigslist. But I was like, hold on, those look like, and I can't remember his name, Steven. Let's call him Steven for now. Those look like Steven's wheels, and I'm like, but they're in Tampa.
Steven is the guy that
owned
was
the
in
root
Seattle.
Beer, that owned the root beer color.
Okay.
Right, okay. I remember seeing them, and then the guy was looking for trades, and he was willing to trade my Avant-Gardes, which the Avant-Gardes were probably worth maybe a little bit more, but the Art in Motions were newer and like in better condition. Mm-hmm. So I ended up trading him straight up. But now here comes the new problem, right? So I just traded wheels that fit for wheels that don't fit. Yeah.
And it's your daily. Did you have your stock wheels still?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the literal perfect definition of like most car guys today, and like guys that scroll on Facebook Marketplace today. They just start like buying a bunch of stuff, and it's like, we'll make do of it one day. You got those wheels, and you're like, little fit, but I'll figure it out one day. And like,
yeah, but little did I know that day would have to be tomorrow. But I think the funniest thing there, and I remember my manager at the time, I was still an hour late at Outback and still in school and everything, of course, too, at this time. But I remember I called out of work to drive, like, I think it was like almost Lakeland, so an hour-ish away. And I remember I made a deal to like head weight. To then like I'd come back and do the head weight part, so whoever picked up my shift, like they would only have to work till 9 or whatever, and I'd do the 9 to midnight or whatever it was, right? I buy those wheels, and then I get in contact with one of the photographers / salespeople for Art in Motion. So this is back when they were, and I don't even know where they are today, to be honest. Like I have no idea where the status of the company is, but one of the guys I happened to run into like at a show or something, or he messaged me on like whatever group or whatever it was, and I was like trying to explain like how I was having trouble finding someone that would be willing to rebuild these wheels, and this was before like 3-piece US kicked off, VR wheels. Like this is the very early stages of the stance game, right? So this is back when everyone pretty much was buying whatever Japanese wheels they could from overseas and buying the set and pretty much being limited to the set, or they were buying secondary wheels with other lips so they could swap them. And this was like, so, and that was kind of what pushed me out of Avant-Garde. So Avant-Garde, I cracked a wheel, a barrel, and the barrel itself, one barrel was $850. And that table, that table in my office today is still that barrel, because I just couldn't justify. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't continue to keep cracking these expensive barrels when they're proprietary. Like these other wheel companies, the only place you could buy it from was Avant-Garde.
Yeah.
So it just ended up being, that's kind of more so also what pushed me out of those wheels.
So how did the wheels end up in Lakeland if they were originally in Seattle? So
the guy I got them from bought them from him and shipped them.
And what, they didn't fit on his car, so then he sold them to you?
No, so he had like just got them like a month ago or whatever it was, and the dude was kind of wishy-washy with his car. Like he was getting the thing resprayed every year. He was like this is back when everyone would like rewrap their cars, would do different wheels. Like,
Yeah.
So he hadn't even gotten to the rebuilding phase yet for the wheels, and he was in the process of repainting his car. So he was kind of just looking for not another way to spend, again, because I just kind of went through like how hard it was to rebuild wheels back then. He didn't really want to have to spend the time and the money to go through that when his car was going to be done being painted in, I don't know, I think it was like 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So he wanted wheels he could ride around on, and like when the car was done. So long story short, in a roundabout way, like I got into contact with someone on Motion. They ended up helping me source new barrels because, so my thought was, okay, well, if they're 12 and 15 inch wide, I'm just going to put the current fronts in the rear and then rebuild the rears to the front spec.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's what I did. I had some issues with Art in Motion. Like, so there's different types of wheel barrels. Like there's rolled, there's step lip. And give me grace here, team. Like I've been out of the stance game for, let's call it like 7 or 8 years. So this is all off memory, and I did not prep at all for this. I didn't know where this was going to go. So I'm just, all.
Sorry, you're only talking to like 3 people. So
it's okay. I'm just not going to stand here and pretend like I know everything. I know that I have areas of opportunity. So long story short, like the barrels I had ordered weren't the correct. They were rolled, or they were standard instead of rolled, or not step lipped, or whatever it was, and ended up being like a whole thing. And I had to essentially like basically fight my credit card to even get a response from Art in Motion to then ship the wheels, and then and there was like a lot of other stuff behind the scenes apparently going on within that company. And again, that's why I have no idea even where they stand today. But it kind of was like one of the. Do you remember a water cooled industry was like another like up and coming / pretty popular like wheel brand at the time? And if I think back to like H2OI, I think of like Spencer Nielsen and his red BRZ on like the water cooled like directional like wheels. Like so like Art in Motion kind of went through, from what I understand, like kind of a similar downfall that WCI did, but Art in Motion just did it a little bit prior, and they were a little bit smaller, so it kind of went more so under the radar from like a ownership perspective. But long story short, I rebuild these wheels by hand in my mother's living room. Gold hardware, white faces, like immaculate, like I'm so proud, like happy. I sealed them myself, all that good stuff, right? And then of course, like they still don't fit, right? So next thing you know, I'm buying. I'm buying lower control arms. I remember I bought like Stance V2 lower control arms that I had to mount upside down because the bag travel wasn't high enough. So like they had a natural drop. Like if the arm's like this, there was a drop section. Way like the suspension had more travel and not Stancy stuff, more like driving, like race car stuff. So I had to mount those upside down so the travel was above. So that way I didn't, because I was fender to lip. Like I was, so I mean I busted my fenders up from hitting. So if there was no travel, the struts would just max out, and I was going through. Thankfully, Airlift is such an awesome company, and I can only say good things about Airlift. But like, if I had any compressor issues, if it kept blowing fuses, send me a new one, no questions. If I had any issues with the struts blowing out or anything rattling, send me new ones, no questions. Like, they just stand behind their products so much, and without them, probably I would have been out of the game way sooner because if I had to spend an extra $1,000 every time the bag went out or et cetera, like
that'll put you out of the game real quick. I mean, at that point, like. And I remember, like, your stuff used to go out quite a bit, and, like, bags back then weren't as reliable to where, like, they would go out more often. But, like, in the equivalent, it'd be, like, drifting. Like, you're always just, like, doing stuff.
Yeah, also keep in mind, right, so to your point earlier, like, this was my daily. So I got the car, I ordered bags and wheels, and I did the bag install in my mom's garage by myself in 12 hours. Electric, everything by myself, and I've other than doing suspension work on other cars, I'd never done anything else, right? So, and it was me in that same mindset of, oh shit, I got to drive to work tomorrow, like and I got class in the morning, like I'm just like I'm gonna figure it out, like the reason I say that is there's probably I probably could have made some better cuts on the airlines, which are very particular, which I didn't know at the time, right? Like the system never failed on me per se, right? But you're right, like that was back, I think it was a V2 system, and now we're on P3, and I don't even know, it might even be a P4 at this point, but
and a lot of R&D's gone into it, like a lot of issues.
So I thought just lower control arms would fix it. Me being naive and stupid and basically a year out of high school, I didn't think about toe arms. So the control arms fit, but it pushed the wheels out, and the wheels were then like this. I couldn't drive it. And I abused the crap out of the Firestone lifetime alignment too.
I would
and that was back when I had to drive to Brandon, dude. I would drive to Brandon from Odessa or from Lutz.
Because that was the only in-ground alignment rack?
In the Tampa Bay area,
That was, I never went, but when we first got our Zs together, which we'll get to that in a little bit, Andrew got the Firestone. It's a lifetime alignment. You paid what, like $99, like $130?
Yeah, let's call it 150, I think.
And then you can go technically once a month or once a year to get an alignment. But Andrew like buddied up with the guys at Firestone by his house, which was like
a brand new
5-minute drive.
Firestone. Yeah.
And every event he would go get an alignment right before the event just to make sure his car was like dialed.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of the reason I would do that is because I had a hard, I still do, so, and then I just have a hard time having a car I can't drive on the street. Just because I live in a neighborhood with an HOA, like I can't, like for something to just be taking up a spot in my garage that I can't drive, or every time I move it I have to get a trailer, is just so terribly inconvenient.
And you dailied that Z too, like you drove it to work and like you drove it around all the time.
It was one of those cars where, I mean, I bought it with 87,000 miles on it, 84,000 miles or whatever, like, and if I think I sold it with what, I don't even know, 90, 89, something like that. Like the value of the car and the way the market was, if it had 90 or if it had 110, it didn't matter. Yeah. Like it wasn't appreciating, and the only other option I had to drive at the time was the M4, and the M4 was a hypersensitive mileage depreciation car. So, and I have this problem, and this is something like, I know I'm just crazy, and that's fine, but you know, if I'm gonna drive the M4, I want to drive the M4. Like,
well, we haven't gotten to all that.
All right.
So you had the VRZ, and then so you went to the VRZ, totaled it.
No, I didn't total it. No. So funny enough, damn near close. I fought to try and total it too. So anyway, rebuild the car, all the correct spec. I get the wheels on. Long story short, they fit. They're great. I do the whole show tour in Florida and South Georgia, and then I started to realize, like, now that I had been kind of doing this, I think I was like rounding year 2. I'm like, it's the same dudes, same cars, same bullshit, same people win. I'm like, this was right when like Crispy Media and like H2OI and like all of these, like the stance scene and like the coverage of the stance scene had started to like increase in quality and increase in, like, I don't know, I guess broader appeal. So like I started to be able to live that in the hour video, and I didn't feel the need to now, like, there wasn't anything spectacular that I'm driving to North Carolina to see, or there's nothing like groundbreaking, right? And I was like, okay, well, just like any other group, there's some people that are maybe not unsavory is not the right word, but maybe people that aren't bringing the sport or the community up. And I felt like there was kind of this teeter-totter effect to where it got to the point where there was more people judging your car in a negative way and like, oh, you're not part of us, you're not in our club. Like, and that's kind of was just a really big turnoff to me. I was like, like your car, I don't care what you drive, man, just enjoy it, So that was kind of why I took a step back from all that.
I remember, I think right around that time was when I was really big into watching TJ Hunt, and he did a lot of like, it wasn't stance stuff, but he was like during his bag car era, and during all his videos, he'd always be talking about how everybody's always criticizing and just saying negative things about your car, and like on the other end of the spectrum, like they don't even have a car. And it's like, why are you hating on all these people? Like, everybody's gonna have their own taste, at least they're doing something unique. And it's like, and that was probably right around that time.
And that was like kind of when, I mean, that was before automotive YouTube, right? Like that wasn't a thing.
So then you sold the BRZ, or
I crashed it.
You crashed it.
Crashed it. I was on my way to work. I was fucking around on my phone or doing something, not paying enough attention. Like the light was green.
Don't follow that advice, kids.
Yeah, don't do that. And I wasn't texting. I think I was changing the music. But, there was a touchscreen on the infotainment back then in 2014, 2015, whenever this happened. And it's weird because that was after I took the bags out. So I then bought RPF 1s. And then I also had BC coilovers for the car, and literally I was swapping them back and forth depending on what like I was doing. So like the car was awesome. The car would do the stance thing if I wanted it to. Then it would go and it would do like a drive to Orlando or drive to like more spirited driving things with some other friends or whatnot. And I kind of was just in this weird place where I had 2 sets of wheels, well 3 if you count the stock wheels, 2 sets of suspension, like, and I was a pro at that point, man. I could jack that thing up. I knew that thing inside and out, right? So long story short, I crashed that. And the really shitty part, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but I crashed the car the day, so I ordered a rally backer kit, which was like a new wide body kit for the car, straight from Japan, and it got delivered the day I crashed the car.
Wow. That sucks.
So I had it in the living room, or like, this was back when I was in a dorm in college. But thankfully, I went to USF. So my mom's house and where I was
30
living,
minutes.
like 30 minutes, right? So it just didn't make sense to ship anything I shipped everything to my mom's house still. I had the painter lined up. So a month prior, so I ordered the kit 2 months.
Was it hurricane season or just randomly?
So, okay, just randomly, but it was either Geico, a tree fell on my car, or someone took a baseball bat to it. And I don't know what I truthfully,
Well, was there
day,
a tree when you walked out of the house into the car? Was there
No, but it was one of those like crazy storm. Like it was just like a summer, crazy, crazy storm. I was at a girl I was seeing at the time's apartment complex with huge oak trees. And there were trees there were tree branches throughout the apartment complex the next day. But it was on the passenger side, and the way I parked, I didn't even see that side. So I didn't think anything of it, right? And then I get to work and I'm like, what the heck? When did that? There was like a basketball size chop in the front fender, and then there was also a big, huge dent on the A pillar, riding up the side of the car. And there was sap on the windshield and on
Okay, it could have been a tree.
So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it was a tree. I feel like if anything, the dent on the A pillar was the tree, and then the baseball bat could have been the fender. But it was just such a weird.
Just a guy's like, oh, it's already dented. Let me just go give it a quick swing.
I don't know, man. But I mean, where I worked at the time, the parking lot wasn't necessarily the best area. Also, it was on an alley, so. Someone bigger could have just sat on the fender, because it was weird. There was no deep scratches or what you would expect in my mind, at least from if a tree branch and bark and that kind of friction or quick impact. But
so then you got rid of that car and you hopped in. We won't go through all the cars because he's had a lot.
So going out of the BRZ
335.
Well, no, about the Z4, the first time.
Yeah, but that one wasn't interesting. The 335 was interesting. Yeah. And then we'll go talk about the drifting.
The funny thing, I'll mention one thing about the 335 and then the Z4. So the BRZ was in the paint shop at this time, right? And then I actually, weirdly enough, someone was selling the exact rally backer kit I ordered, already painted my car's color.
For the BRZ?
Yes. And the car was in the shop. I was driving a rental car at the time because I only had the one car.
Yeah.
And I'm en route, and I've been looking, loosely looking at Z4s just because I hadn't had a nice car. The car's been in the shop almost a month at this point.
Yeah.
Going back and forth with them, whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this perfect Z4 and the exact spec I want. Sport, 3.0, I, manual, red inside, silver outside, or gray outside, power hardtop, had all the options. I'm like, I'm just going to go look at it. Ended up using the money that I was going to put for the paint match kit and put it as a down payment on that car. And then I ate the restocking fee and shipped the old rally backer kit back to Japan.
And you paid for the shipping to Japan?
Yeah.
That's a pretty penny.
Yeah.
But you never installed the rally backer kit on the...
No, because I used the down payment on my way to go buy it to buy the Z4.
Oh my God.
Because I told myself, I'm like, what really tainted my vision there was how much of a struggle it was to go through insurance for the modifications.
Yeah.
And then I also had to come out of pocket to paint I was like, okay, well, the car's already going to get painted. Might as well paint the kit at the same time. And that whole thing. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get this car. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to still my daily. And then what happens when something happens again? And now I'm waiting 6 weeks for another kit to come in, or et cetera. So and that's when I was getting out of the game. I'm like, it doesn't matter, I'm not adding value to this car. And I was in a situation financially where I just couldn't justify it to myself to spend that extra money to come out like that. So bought the Z4, drove that for a while.
Kept it in my garage for a while.
The two-door?
The Z4?
Did I?
You don't remember me storing it for you? Because you had the 335, the M4, the Z4, and you must have had a fourth car at the time.
Are you sure?
That I kept the Z4 in my garage?
Yeah.
Oh. Am I sure? Yeah, 100%. I drove it to work.
The first time or second time that I owned? It must have been the second time I owned it.
Probably. I don't know. I didn't know that you... Oh, I do know. You sold it to an old lady and bought it back from her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you got the 335, which that was bagged.
So I... This is where it was interesting. So I had a modded 350Z between those two. But so...
The blue one.
So Garrett and I opened the car dealership shortly after I got the Z4. So there was a stint of probably 8 months where I was just driving cars that we had on the lot.
You took an internship?
Yeah, so this was a real pivotal point in my kind of career/life, I guess. So I took a step down financially from what I was doing in the restaurant to take an internship, which paid significantly less than what I was making. And, It was one of those times where money was so tight, especially with Garrett and I had just opened up the car dealership. So there was overhead that, of course, increases with any new business. Then there's inventory, and then, just a lot of money things. Not to dive too much into it, but, that was essentially a time where I couldn't afford to spend, I think it was like $550 between insurance and car payment for the Z4. So I had to let that car go. I think I was making a grand total of $1,100.
A month?
A month.
Or a paycheck?
A month.
That's all your money.
So it was $500 went straight to the car.
Yeah.
And then the other, I think our rent, if I remember correctly, I think for me, we did it by room and square foot and everything. Like it was very, very, I think my rent, because now we were in a townhouse, was like $550.
Yeah.
So I literally was living off like $150, which is absurd. And also I was paying for my school. So I was playing the credit card games of like, hey, I'm going to put this semester on this 0% card, and then I'm going to it was very, very tight. Very, very tight. It was worth it because I graduated with no student loan debt at all.
Yeah.
And shout out to my grandfather for Florida Prepaid for supporting that. But even without that, I was still coming out of pocket anywhere from, let's call it $3,000 to $6,000 after books and everything. A semester. So, and making $1,100 a month is almost next to impossible. So I was eating at the restaurant on the shifts I worked, like anytime I could get a meal, like really scrounging by. So through that kind of process, I was just driving whatever we had on the lot because I was already scraping money together to pay dealership insurance. Yeah. I know this is not technically like the best thing to do or the right way to do it, but was using buying I bought a 350Z modified from auction for I think like $6,200 and cash, because as long as the title's in the business name, then I can drive on dealer plates, right? Yeah. So had to pay cash for the car, drove that around for, I don't know, let's call it like 3 months, 4 months, maybe 5.
That was the one where you couldn't remove the wheels on it.
But it was the Nismo Blue. It had the fiberglass body kit on it. It had the gold work VFs with the polished lips, so it kind of had every bit of stance, quote unquote, to it that like my BRZ did, but it was literally a third of the price. Yeah. And I paid cash for it, and it would so it all sounds great on paper, right? So pay cash for the car, no problem. Okay, but then you gotta account. Okay, well this car runs premium, and I was driving almost 50 minutes to work each way.
Dude, you could have put friggin' 83 in that VQ. It would have lasted.
Yeah, but that was a financial question mark I wasn't willing to risk. It's like save $10 every fill up to potentially spend $1,000, if something happens. So, and that car was rickety. It had some sound system work done. It had like a roll cage, like harness bar, but it wasn't all done right, and the exhaust was terrible. And then you're right. Like I tried to just take the wheels off to adjust the coilovers because it was like rubbing in the back on the highway, and I literally snapped I think 3 or 4 different wheel lock tools or keys or whatever, right? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, God forbid someone has to cut these wheels off, basically, right? And then I bought the car with those wheels, so that's part of the value in my mind. And I remember people messaging me on Facebook trying to get me to trade them or trade me stock wheels for the work VFs, and they're like, yeah, but you didn't pay for them. I saw that car at auction with those wheels. I'm like, okay. I don't I remember going back and forth with this
the people on Marketplace are wild.
He's like, but you didn't pay extra for them. I'm like, yes, I did, dude. If they weren't on these wheels, I would have paid $4,000 for the car. You know what I mean? Right? And that's back when those wheels were hyped and all that other stuff. But yeah, I don't know. That's where I kind of jumped. I don't know, back into car stuff. Not back into car stuff.
No, because you had the 335. Oh. Which I want to talk about that car because it was sick. Okay. What was it? It wasn't single turbo. Mm-mm. It was just tuned.
Yeah, so I had a 2013 N55 335 with nothing super crazy. I had a JB4 on it. I was stage 2, downpipe intake, catless downpipe, and then it was bagged. It was on rotiform
wheels.
Yeah. Oh, the other set of wheels I had for my Z4 too, but that's not important. Yeah. Ended up not
but that car was, why I liked it so much was when we started hanging out, so we didn't hang out in high school. We started hanging out because I worked at Outback too, and we met in Vegas. We met up in Vegas.
Let's go through that. So we started hanging out, 2017?
Yeah, well, that car was the first car that I had seen somebody work on firsthand, because before I was way out of the car scene. I was plasti dipping my Honda Civic in high school. That's what I was doing to modify my car.
Okay.
And I remember
with subs though, it had subs.
No.
I thought you were in sub club.
Yeah, with no subs. But that car, you got like the wheels on after you got your control arms modified by some dude, whatever, and you would air it out, and your fitment was just a little bit too large to where it couldn't fit. So you would like spray baby oil or something tire shine, and then you'd hop on the side of the whatever the door thing is, and the car would just go bloop and just like sit on the wheel essentially. That's why I want to talk about that car, because that's like such a staple.
That was
to me starting to get in the car scene.
It was only because those tires were new.
Yeah.
I could have been like, I mean, some dudes take like razor blades and like cut essentially the lip. So when you stretch
literally
the tire,
this right here.
Yeah.
But that car you had, so we didn't start hanging out. We went to high school with each other, knew of each other, worked at Outback together. He was my manager. In a way, and not in a way.
I mean,
and then I lived in Vegas I quit Outback, got fired technically. I don't know which way you want to look at it, but lived in Vegas for 7 months. And Andrew went to Vegas with Gary V.
For SEMA.
The Pokemon dealer. And was it for SEMA? And then your girlfriend met up with you.
Yeah, we did a like 2-week stint out there. First week was SEMA.
Yeah.
And then she came out and met us. And then you messaged me, I think, because you saw all my stories or something.
Well, I was by myself for like 5 months. Didn't see a soul.
Just turned 21, I think, right? Cause
fresh
21. Yeah.
Because it was SEMA's in November.
Last week of October, first week of November.
Yeah, and I turned 21 last week of August. Yeah. So it was like a month and a half, 2 months in. Hung out. I came back to Florida, and then the rest, like we started hanging out.
Because that was back, I think, I was still working in the restaurant. I was still managing the restaurant. Yeah. And your girlfriend, Soph, was still working there.
Yeah.
So I think by virtue, then I left the restaurant, and then she was still working there, and then we ended up hanging out, and
we would go to the restaurant while she was working at night. We would go and hang out
use my comp
with
card.
her. Yeah, use your comp card. And then
that.
We got into drifting. No, we did RC cars.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh wait, you know what? One more interesting thing about those 3 SDMs I had on the Honda Accord, I ended up buying another brand new set for the Z4, which then I bought spacers for and ran them on the 335, and I had KW coilovers on 335 before it was bagged and all that. Like I went down the static route first.
Yeah.
But I don't think that might have been before your time.
Yeah, because when we first started hanging out, the car was already bagged, but it was in the corner of your garage. So Andrew has like a 2.5. It's a 3 car, but it's got an extendo. You can fit 3 in there. And
we'll throw a picture up too.
It was in the corner on the pump jacks or whatever. It's like the jack that like grabs your wheels, and that car just sat in the corner and did not do anything because you had just put the bags on it, but you had like a bunch of tow issues and stuff.
Yeah, so I had bushing issues with that car.
Yeah.
The subframe bushings were bad, so when I was airing up and down, it would be throwing off the alignment.
Yeah.
So someone was custom fabbing arms for me, and I think this is more me being more naive in the car.
Yeah.
Like, more naive and less capable, I would say. Like the quotes I was getting for those bushings, I think were like crazy, like $2,000 or something. And I'm just like, no, like not happening.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I ended up have to like speak to someone in California, and they were like custom making arms for me like $1,000 later, and 6 months go by, and like all this stupid shit. Like they come in, did not fix the problem, and I'm just like, I'm so fucking done. And keep in mind also, I fully interior swapped that car too. That car was gray on gray.
And then it was red.
Yes. So then I had an airbag light that I was chasing for those additional 6 months, but I couldn't drive it anywhere to get it fixed because I had tow issues. So I was just like, this, dude, I'm fucking done. So.
But when you got that car fixed, because you did eventually, it was sick.
Yeah. And then I bought the M4.
Yeah.
And then I was like, these cars are basically, they bake the same power, both coupes.
The M4 is way better.
Well, I agree, right? But it's like, do I need to keep both?
No.
I still had the Z4 at the time too.
Yeah.
I was like, so 3 depreciating assets that are also reliability problems?
Oh, how many depreciating assets do you have today? You have 4. 4. And he's always had between 2 and 4 depreciating assets in his possession.
Oh yeah, dude, we didn't even go through the Jeeps that I own,
or
the jet skis that I've owned.
Yeah. 5, because you still have the jet ski.
Yeah.
So, but no, the list is far too beyond to do that. But then we got into drifting together.
Wait, I will say though, on the depreciating assets I do have to this day, I don't have any payments. So.
They're still depreciating assets.
Yeah.
At least you're not under on the loan.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take it.
That's the biggest part. So we got into RC drifting.
Yeah, we did get into RC drifting.
There was
So this is where the hey, if you do it, I'll do it problem really started. This is where this is where it all started.
Yeah. This is
Because okay, so what got us into RC drifting?
well, you had the track 20 minutes from your house, and we went there to check it out because we were talking about drifting, and we like drifting, and we were vibing with the idea of drifting.
Because that's back when Zach
was drifting.
Zach was drifting, Joan,
or just
and
got
Marcus,
out, like
they were like in the house together, I think, and we're all still in college here, and they were like doing it and like saying how much fun it was, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we want to do it, but then there's like, oh, there's no tracks to drift over here, so it's like,
and we look at the price of drifting, and we're like, financially, that's not
and
really
like
feasible.
our mechanical /
was trash.
like, I don't know if our mechanical knowledge was trash. I think we were very capable at the time. I just think we were scared more so than anything, right?
Yeah.
So
well, and like you look back at like, so we eventually obviously got cars, but like the one night we were not drinking, and we're looking at like getting because we had lowered our cars and we had taken them to the first drift event, and we had to do like the camber and the tow arms for the Z. And
do
we're
that
like,
again?
the tow arms, and we're looking, and it's like, well, should we get the traction arm too? And it's like, I'll do it if you do it. It's like, it's so much more money, and like we're freaking out, and it was only maybe $800-900 on the grand scheme of things when you look at like how much stuff is nowadays. But
that's before COVID, man. Like that was
but that's why we didn't get into the drifting, was those expenses. Like, it's nice to put coils on your car, it's nice to put wheels on your car, but then like when you start adding in like all the arms and the exhaust and the engine mods and the seats and the roll cage or harness bar and the harness, like,
oh yeah,
that trickles down so fast. But we stopped RC.
And that doesn't even account the consumable pieces of it. Like those control arms, you bend one, consumable. Like
tires, fuel.
Yeah.
But the shop that was
wheels.
20 minutes away from Andrew's house got robbed.
And it was on like a Hobby Lobby or like RC.
No, it was
a
own proprietary store.
Yeah, but like it was like a hobby store with like a off-road track in the back.
Yeah.
A little bit of parking lot space to like run around, like
rock crawling also.
Rock crawling, yep.
And then a drift track that they did
drift track inside.
The 1/10 scale.
Yeah, they also ran like slot cars or whatever those. I don't know.
But
things that are really freaking fast that I have no idea how people can control.
How many times did we go over there before the thing got robbed? 3 times?
Maybe. And like, to your point, like when we jumped into RC drifting, it was like fat. We're like, okay, we're buying extra bodies, we're buying all these batteries, we're buying like all these wheels, like
we were going deep into it. Like we were ready.
Like, we show up. I remember the bag I had was like a bag like this, man. It was like a duffel bag of shit. Like, you gotta have the little stands to work on the car.
The LED lights on the car.
My God.
But that was like, we could ball out and it be financially acceptable, more or less, for us. Like, we could spend that kind of money and really get like all the gear and stuff, and it was like, it wasn't breaking the bank. And I think that's why we like really got into it.
I think there's the Super Street, or what's in St. Pete now? Like, this was before.
It's insane now.
But this is way before. Like, that was like.
That track was just opening
up.
Yeah,
like, I don't even think they had events yet. They had hosted like car meets. They hadn't even hosted like
and it was like it was a small warehouse, and like you were just kind of like drifting on tape. Now I don't know if you've seen it. They've built like a full city.
Well, we should go.
It's insane. We don't have RC drift cars.
Why don't we just buy them?
But that track shut down.
Now it's time. It's more about where we want to dedicate our time now.
Yeah, and it's not RC drifting.
I'm with you. We can go and not drift, though. We can go and watch.
Oh, yeah, I'm down. 100%.
That's what I mean.
I'm down to do that. So then we sold, well, we didn't sell them, but we stopped RC drifting because the track was shut down. And this is where the trouble came in, where that led us to where we're sitting today, pretty much, is, I think Andrew said it. I said I would like to get into real drifting, and Andrew said, I'll buy one if you buy one. And I think a couple of weeks went by, I bought a drift car, and then like a month later, Andrew bought a drift car.
That you found for me, actually.
On OfferUp. If you're looking for a drift car, drift car, wheels, harness bars, harnesses, seats, all the best deals I've ever gotten were on OfferUp, without a doubt. I got highway robberies on OfferUp. Like, nobody was buying off there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, okay, so let's rewind. So you buy your 2003 350Z.
Yeah, the red car that I still have today.
113K on the clock, if I
Yeah,
remember.
right around there.
Okay. Bone stock. That was one of our other contingencies.
No. It had those wheels.
Okay. Okay, it had ugly fucking wheels on it.
Bone stock
But
is good.
that was our kind of deal. Like the kind of handshake agreement that we had made was, let's build the cars together.
Yeah.
Let's learn together.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy the process. This wasn't of a, like nowadays, I mean, you can go out and you can buy a $10,000-$12,000 Drift Z.
It's built, handbrake, seats,
And, like,
harness bar.
We didn't want to buy, like, and I think I was kind of tainted from my prior 350Z of like someone else's project type thing. So
100%.
we were like, we bought both cars bone stock. Both of our cars came with ugly wheels. Ugly wheels.
I don't remember what yours came with.
Mine came with like the black wheels with like the chrome on the edge and like
the
choppy
cheapo, like tire
tires.
stacks
Yeah.
or whatever wheels.
like peeling tent.
Yeah.
Like, so
But it had subs.
single sub, had one sub.
One sub.
Had one sub. It was also mine was also the touring. So I had black leather seats, power seats.
Yeah.
Stick shift, of course.
Yeah.
And also, like, one of my no-nos was, like, I did not want any light interior. I did not want a light dash.
Yeah.
So, like, mine was, like, triple black. Black outside,
Yeah.
black inside. So mine was an 05. Mine had been in some accidents. I paid $4,800 for it. And it had 83,000 original miles, clean title. Both of ours were clean title.
Yeah.
Accidents, but clean title. And I don't know, man. Like, I remember that was back when, so I had the 335. I remember I drove to, Tom texted it to me. I go and I message the dude on OfferUp, and I'm
Love
like,
that day.
I'm coming right now. Coming from Tampa, I'm getting cash on the way. I drive my 335 out there. I literally drive it around the parking lot, and I'm like, perfect, I'll take it, whatever,
Shipped it to my house.
So, well, shipped
Triple A'd it.
Yeah, shipped is maybe not the correct word, but where the dude lived in Orlando, and technically this is all within guidelines. Like, so the dude lived in
Triple A,
Orlando.
come after this guy.
You can. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong, but it's my grandfather's policy, so good luck. I'm an authorized user, though. So
Double down.
the guy's house was like 112 miles from my house, or from Tom's house, actually. And AAA, if you're a gold member, platinum, or whatever it is, they'll ship anything under 100 miles is free.
Oh, so it was shipping.
Or towing. They'll tow anything for under 100 miles for free. So long story short, like, make the handshake deal with the guy. Like, cool, buy it. Of course, it's one of those, like, oh, I have to drive back to my house to get the title, so I follow him in the 335 to go get the title. Then I'm like, okay, but I'm going to need you to drive me back to Zach's to get within that 100 miles, so that way the tow was covered, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, like, when the one time you call AAA, so I literally get to Zach's, and with the Z in the driveway and the 335, and I look at the guy. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna request a tow from AAA. You're 30 minutes back, so I'll drive you 30 minutes, come back, whatever. Of course, as soon as I get like out of the neighborhood, I get a call from AAA. Okay, we're 10 minutes out, and I'm like, so I make the guy ride back with me. We watch the AAA guy load it up, and then I call you, and I'm like, hey, Tom, yeah, bought that Z. It's coming to your house, so can you be home and can you catch it? can you take it off can you take the keys when the guy gets it off the truck? And thankfully the guy was super nice. I think I tipped him 20 or 40 bucks or whatever it was. And honestly, if there's one thing I can say about all of my automotive adventures in one, the relationships that I've built at Firestone, I always take care of those guys. I understand that they're technically, yes, they're getting paid. They're on the clock, and yes, they get paid per job. But they could be sticklers, and they could tell me, "Hey, we're not doing your alignment. This, that, and the other." If I could do anything, even if it's just buying him lunch or $20, $40, just saying "Hey, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time, working with me, communicating with me." And I feel like that gets you so much more than people ever account for. It's always about what can you do for me? What can you do for me?
Well,
cheaper.
The perfect example is when the next time you go to the Firestone alignment, it's we saw you 3 weeks ago. No, we're not doing your alignment, but because you brought them lunch last time, they're gonna be like, all right, we'll hook you up. We'll still do it.
Or if it's walking across the street to the Wawa and bringing them all Red Bulls, Gatorade, water. You get so much more with just being kind to people. Because at the end of the day, no one owes you shit. No one owes you shit, regardless if it's cars, regardless if it's home. So I just try to be I want to be someone where I'm happy, or where they're happy that I was there, not happy that I'm leaving. So take care of your mechanics, take care, all that car stuff you don't want to do. Imagine how much they don't want to do it if it's not even their car, right? I mean, that's how we got the Z. It ended up being in your garage for 2 weeks after that or something. I don't even think I came and touched it for.
No, we got the ground. I mean, maybe, yeah, but We got the ground running pretty quickly.
What did we do first?
So coils and wheels.
I don't even think we did wheels or coils first. I think we went to a couple events stock.
Oh, you're right.
Did we even do an angle kit?
So that was no. So that was Andrew and I's whole thing. And this is, if there's anybody that's a new drifter out there, this is like, I think we followed this rule, and I'm so happy we did, and I loved it. Was we did our first event, maybe not stock, maybe on coils, either or, doesn't really matter.
I don't think
we did our first event, and then second event we'll say we did the first event on coils.
Sure.
Second event we did, well, after the first event, we did coils and wheels. Then we did our second event. Then we got back from the second event and we did angle kit, or no, the tow arms, traction arm, camber arms to make sure that we weren't going to get uneven tire wear. Maybe did a couple events like that. Then we got the GK Tech angle kit, did a couple events like that, did a couple things here and there. And then a few events.
I think we were doing maintenance, man.
I know, but like, no, what I'm saying is a good amount of events before we even got the handbrake. And we weren't even using our stock handbrakes because they didn't lock up.
Correct.
We went without a hydro for a hot minute. Like I think we started tandeming.
Without hydros.
Yeah. And then as we started getting closer.
Tandeming maybe.
And as we started getting closer, still like 15 feet.
Throw some footage up of like our old school drifting days.
Oh, shoot. You might have to send me some. I don't know.
I'm sure I've got it somewhere.
Right. I mean, this is so classic. Like, anybody that used to drift or still drifts or like remembers like first starting out, you used to go out there. You're like, bro, I was on your door. I was on you, bro. And then you look back at the clip and you're like 15 feet away. You're so far away. It's like, oh. We should get close, and then you start getting closer, and like you think you're on the door then,
and then you don't realize you're on the door until you're literally in the door,
hitting it. Yeah. Andrew was super lucky, kept his car clean up until like his last event, which is when he decided to sell it at Fall Double Down. Was it Fall Double Down or was it just a Georgia event?
I think it was Fall Double Down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a 3-day event, and it was, mark my words, never say this is my last run.
Yeah.
Never. Literally, what?
It was your last run?
72 hours of drifting. In chase position, I think in like the middle of an, let's call it 8-10 car train, right?
Yeah.
And the red 350 in front of me, hit the initial entry. Okay, run it around. Okay, run it around, and then it's on the flick. And then I'm on his door, and I'm on his door like maybe a half second to, well, my headlight, my bumper, his bumper. Everyone says like. He flicks a second or two before I think he's going to flick, and he just literally, boom. I mean, front wheel, headlight, back bar. Keep in mind, I drove this car 9 hours, street drove it up to Georgia, and now it's like, oh,
It's only 4 hours. You drove it 9 hours back.
Yeah, okay, you're right. 4 hours up, but it took me 9 hours to get back after that.
His alignment was all screwed up. We toe plated it on the side of the road.
Yep, my wheel bearings went bad in the car, and it was raining, and there was construction, and I was on my way to Orlando. God bless AAA again. So I drove it straight to Orlando to meet Garrett because his parents were doing like a family vacation thing, which is like kind of an annual tradition. But drive it there, and I'm like, Tom, you want to catch another car? I don't remember actually. Did I have it drop back off with you, or did I think my mom actually?
Yeah, I don't think it came back to me.
I dropped it back off at my house, and
that was like the staple for you, being like, if I'm gonna stay into drifting, I need a trailer and a truck.
And my HOA won't allow it, and like I wasn't in a financial position to jump into a truck, and so it just ended up being like too much. And to your point, like breaking stuff and like. That's where I kind of had the issue of continuing to like dump. Like I love it, and I still drive your car as much as you'll let me, and I still go out and have much fun. Like so, I guess that's kind of the good part of it. I get to have the fun, but my garage space is so limited that I just can't have a car. Going back to like why I street drove the Z in the first place, like I can't have a car that I can't street drive, taking up a spot. It's not like I have a truck and trailer in my backyard that I can pull around. Like I have to come here to borrow your trailer, and then I got to go home. Now I have two cars, thankfully, that I can tow if I need to. Like it just ends up becoming such a little kind of cluster that. It's like,
so on the towing note, Andrew just got an X5. It's been a few months now.
I got it, July. The July 4th trip we took.
Yeah, so we went up to AMP for 4th of July. So Andrew now kind of like crew chiefs.
For you?
For the program, yeah. He comes to a lot of the events and helps.
I've been
out as
calling
much as
myself
he-
that, so hopefully that's
Yeah,
kosher,
so
I guess.
Andrew's pretty much the crew chief. Has no mechanical knowledge.
Whoa. Hold on, wait. Let's rewind. Hold on, no. I'm not gonna let that ride. Tom, originally, I was the guy.
Oh, originally though.
Whoa. Okay. You were the dude that was scared to take off your wheels in the garage, okay?
So scared.
You were, though.
I know. No, I'm literally.
You're saying it almost like you're being sarcastic.
No, I was so scared. Bro, I would
know.
freaking torque wrench them. And like, oh, I don't know if I can drive it now.
So I was the guy that. So it's so funny how things change.
Oh, yeah.
But like he relied on me so much. Like so, going back to like when we started building the cars and all that. Good
Yeah,
stuff,
when we
like,
first got the Z's.
we literally would have them jacked up in his car together, or in his garage together. Be like, okay, we're gonna do control arms on your car. We're gonna
I've
do
pictured
control arms,
that.
like, and we're gonna do rear uppers, and we're gonna like, you know what I mean? Like, so we literally like when I say we built these cars together. We built these cars together. Like Saturday we do Tom's car, Sunday we do my car, or vice versa. Like whatever it was. Like we literally built these cars together.
Typically, we did start with Andrew's car. It was full of rust, so then we'd give up on Andrew's car, move over to my car, then go back to Andrew's car.
Yeah, because by the time all the PB blaster had soaked in, like the nuts and bolts would start to like kind of back out.
The rust bucket.
Yeah, that car was the rust bucket, but hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we wrapped them the same colors. If nothing else, we at least looked damn good. We looked the part.
We did it great. It was super fun. And building them, like literally buying the same parts at the same time and all that good stuff.
Knowing what I know now, back then, the only thing I wish we would have done is I wish we would have taken more of a, I wish we would have taken a step back, been a little bit more informative, and bought two different parts, and then been able to compare them side by side.
And
Like,
start a
mine,
YouTube channel, and then we can do reviews on the parts.
Yeah. Like,
High car and low car.
well, so high, low, yes, donut. That series on the Z's, which was that their first one? I think that was their first high-low series.
It might have been, yeah.
That came out after both our cars were wide-bodied, both our cars had hydros. That was like towards the tail end of my career.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but
Love
no
that
one was
series.
doing that at the time, right? And
Doing what?
that type of format, or that type of
Oh, like they're the
format.
first ones to like take two cars and kind of build
Yeah,
them
yeah.
on the opposite end of the spectrum.
But the reason why I think it's valuable is like if I look back to our time trying to build those cars,
Yeah.
like the Z's are, yes, they're a pretty well-known platform, but I mean, there were still a lot of unanswered questions that we had,
Yeah.
around.
Well, we didn't, like, a big thing for us was, I don't know why I keep going back to it, but like the tow arms. You had like, what was it, Godspeed or something like that, that you could get on Amazon for like half, if not a third of the price of the GK Tech ones or the Z1 Motorsports ones that we got, the tow arm, camber arm, traction arm. And we were like so up in, and it's like, what do we do? Do we get the cheap one? Do we get the expensive one? And we ended up going with Z1 Motorsports, the expensive one. But it's like, was it worth it? For the way that we drove the cars, stock power, DEs, without that much grip in them back then, like, would the Godspeed ones just been plentiful instead of spending, double the price on Z1 Motorsports ones? Because, like, now, like, you take my Z now, and, like, it's gripped up. Like, it's definitely, it's still a stock DE. It's tuned, whatever. I didn't really get anything out of it. But, like, I'm happy that I have the more expensive ones on there because of, like, how the car gets driven. It's definitely a lot faster entries, a lot more aggressive.
I think the Heim joints and everything are where the money is, the difference is made.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But, like, back then, we probably could have just bought, like, the Godspeed ones to do, like, the high-low series. And for, like, if you would have gotten those, for example, for, like, the year and a half, 2 years that you had them on your car, you could probably... No, but, like, they're fine. Like, I didn't need the nice stuff. I could have settled with that stuff.
Yeah, I think the only reverse kind of thought process there is, hey, if we both buy the same shit and we're drifting, we can buy one set of backup for both cars and then still be okay. That was kind of our thought process.
But we never even needed backups. I don't think we had backup axles.
I still have the entire Z1 arm set at my house.
Do you really?
In case I'm driving that car still. If anything happens, I want to make sure that it's in a place where I can fix it.
Okay, that's your rental fee next time. You give me the arms.
You can have them. That's fine.
So yeah,
I mean, I literally only bring them when I'm...
Yeah. So Andrew drives the Z now. If you guys watched the Leadfoot City video that I posted literally at this point a week and a half before this pod's coming out. Andrew's like the designated Z driver. I can't seem to part with the car unless somebody wants to offer me a reasonable offer. I'll part with it.
Don't, though, please. It's a piece of shit. It's leaking oil like hell right now. I can go show you the underneath it if you want.
Not true.
Bullshit. I'll go tell that to the cardboard underneath it.
It's not leaking like hell. It's dripping a little bit. But yeah, Andrew's like the designated Z driver. So whenever he's let... I meant by your girlfriend, not by me. Whenever he's let, he comes out and drifts the Z. So you went to Sebring 6 months ago?
Yep, drove Sebring. Car felt really good that day.
Yeah.
Compared to Leadfoot, but I think it probably was just the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
Were you on Zek Novas? You were on Zek Nova.
This was my first event on Zek's, this track too, with the fresh asphalt.
Yeah, so the car's naturally gripped up from back when I used to drive it, and you haven't really messed with it too much. I don't think we've changed the toe. We've tightened up the rear suspension a little bit, but that's really all we've done. And I used to drive that car by the end of its life. That's why we got into the Corvette chassis. Yeah, literally throttle.
No, I'm saying clutch kick.
Oh, yeah, that too. But I beat the crap out of that car, and we've never dialed it back. And we used to be on Kendas on that car, even full ways sometimes. And now we're on the Zek Novas, which are noticeably more grippy. And
Way more grippy.
You felt it when I drove it at left foot. It's like that car.
I mean, if you haven't touched the car, I think the last time I really adjusted anything was probably prior to Fall Double Down 2023. And that car was perfect on the...
Full ways. The full way tires. You weren't on Zek's back then.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But like that surface, that track, like the temperature for that weekend and everything, like the car, like, I mean, that thing drove like butter all weekend.
Yeah.
Like
well,
that thing was
I think the big
beautiful.
portion is the tires. I think now we have to, if we're going to...
Well, now we still have the I don't know if they're crappy, but we have 2.5-year-old front tires on that car now too. Like those tires were another year old prior to 2023, so now we're probably...
Those tires are I've never changed them. They're the OGs from the day I got the Z 4.5 years ago, whenever we started drifting. So we started drifting what? It wasn't 2019 because COVID came in 2020, like May of 2020-ish.
Okay.
So 4.5 years ago is when we started drifting. So those are 4.5-year-old Kendas on the front. Yeah. We'll replace them with some other tires.
If only I knew a guy.
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, by the way, shout out to Zek Nova for the wall, for the wall of tires for the pod. They're really gracious to give all these to us for free.
Yeah, right.
Hit them up if you want free tires for your pod. They'll give them to you. Don't hit them up. All right. What else? You got anything else?
You were gonna get into the toe pig thing, the X5.
Oh, dude. So Andrew got the X5, and before he was towing with a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Is it a Grand
so
Cherokee?
I bought kind of like going through the car rigmarole, I guess. I wanted to get something. This was kind of like when Tom and I had talked about, you know, if there's an this was after we bought the Corvette. So if there's availability, like, and you want to tow the Z up, like we can drive together or whatever. It's more of like, so I wanted to make sure I got something that could tow that amount at least, so at least tow a car.
Yeah.
So I ended up, my buddy Garrett again, best friend number 2, best friend number 1, equal, I don't know how.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Found like a stupid lease offer on a Grand Cherokee L. So ended up scooping that up. Thankfully, the only dealership in the country that was willing to offer that was in Brandon. So it was only about a 45-minute hour drive from my house. So scooped that up, used that as a tow pig for a while. Thankfully, my girlfriend was in the market for a new car, so ended up scooping that up, and then ended up being her car, and she loves it. So that's awesome. But you know that. It didn't have a towing package. I put a hitch on it. I did the wiring, you know, all that good stuff. And it sagged pretty bad.
It had the squatting package.
Yeah, it had the squatting package.
Well, the trailer that Andrew uses is an open trailer that is disgustingly front heavy. Like it's
extended
bad.
by what, 4 feet, 5 feet?
Yeah, and it's like there's so much weight. Like even back when I used to tow with my F-150, it would make my F-150 squat more than my enclosed trailer does today. Or like my old enclosed trailer.
It's crazy, dude.
That's how much weight there's in the front.
When we bought that thing, we drove out there, like, we should have hooked it up. Like, that was one
But
mistake.
dude, we got it for $1,000. I got it plated. So it was a homemade trailer. And a homemade trailer, you have to be, I forget what the weight is.
I think it's under 2,000, right?
Under 2,000 pounds, something like that. And I was at like 24 or 2,500 pounds. So I literally just gutted the thing. Removed everything from it.
Ramps.
The winch, the ramps, the metal in the front.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do 2 wheels. I was ready to do 2 out of the 4 wheels. And I brought it to the weight station. I weighed in like 1990, like just 10 pounds under. So I was able to go to the DMV, get a plate, and then put all the weight back on. But that trailer was $1,000 and has lasted 4 years.
And we haven't had to replace axles. We haven't had to replace hub.
We haven't driven it much, but it's like, it's the cheapest $1,000 trailer that's...
Shit, man.
It sucks,
And
it's
like,
front heavy, but...
I don't know if you noticed, but you have an extra bike over there. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I was going to send you a picture. I don't know
So, like, I used the front of it, so it towed, like...
You strapped the bike on the front? Andrew, we have pit bikes, and...
Mine's all messed up, and I need... So, Tom's the pit bike master, bro. Like, he used to wheelie them. That's where he's, like... He's not... When we started this kind of journey into the automotive...
I was pit biking.
You were pit biking.
Yeah,
You
that
were
was my
wheeling
thing.
and you were doing... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, he's super knowledgeable on all those things. It was something I picked up at a garage sale, and I've been, like, slowly bringing it back.
How much you get that pit bike for? $50? 75?
$75, yeah.
He got a 110...
125.
125 auto 50cc
Electric start
pit bike for $75 because it didn't run.
Yeah.
And all it needed was a carb clean.
Well, no. So the guy I bought it from, someone in my neighborhood, the spark plug was literally hanging out.
Oh.
And he's like, I have no idea why it's not starting. And I'm like, I'll figure it out though. Like, and he wanted 150, and I was like, whatever. Like, I was like, he's like, if no one comes by the end of the day, I'll sell it for 100. I'm like, why don't I just give you 75 right now and it'll just be done? So.
It's a unit, and it wheelies. Sketchy, but it wheelies.
Yeah. And I've only put probably another $100, $200 into it.
It's still dirt cheap. Like if you were to
Yeah.
get that bike today off Marketplace running properly, $350, $400 bike probably.
Yeah. So.
It's a cool stir, which that's what mine is, and that thing has ran for 7-8 years, no changes. Sitting on limiter every time I drive it.
Oh, but then remember we also had to I did have to put a new head on it because one of the lifters was bent. Remember?
Yeah.
Gosh, what a freaking disaster. Honestly, the amount of time that we spent on it, I should have just forked out the money and been done. But
yeah,
it was kind of one of those things where I sold the Z, didn't have a project. It was kind of that thing that took up only a little bit.
I mean, it's
of
cool
space,
and like
so.
they're super easy to work on, like compared to like cars. And like you'll never, I don't think I have ever bitch and cuss at a pit bike like you will a car. Like all the bolts come loose. I mean, I'm sure there's like some rust bucket pit bikes out there that like people have fought with, but like mine and yours and the other ones that I've had, like a bolt comes off pretty straightforward and everything's like, you're not like dealing with like dropping the coilover, but then you can't remove this bolt because the coilover is here and like this thing's rusted and like all that crap on a pit bike. It's more straightforward. So it makes it more fun to tinker with.
Yeah. And
as opposed to like,
you're also not laying on your back with the car like 4 inches from your
and
face.
all the rust falling in your eyes and everything.
Yeah.
So, all right. Think that's good. Do you have anything else you want to add? Shout out your Instagram.
Yeah, I mean.
Shout out your YouTubes.
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, YouTube. I'm just kind of really more so trying to document my stories, my experience, not trying to make money, not trying to get famous. Just want to kind of leave something behind. So my Instagram is, and YouTube are the same. It's Andrew_Floor, and Floor is F as in Frank, LOHR. I think part 2 we'll get into kind of, we left off with the Z's, but we'll get into some of the cool stuff of where we're at now, maybe in the next section.
Yeah, Andrew's going to he was here for the first pod. He's probably, if we move forward with this, I think it's like, most pods don't make it past 3 episodes, so we'll see. But he'll be coming back probably like...
Yeah, I think I'd love to speak about,
episodes.
Kind of our experience from my perspective, too, of like where we've...
What we're doing now.
Not necessarily where we went and how we got to where we are, too.
Yeah.
Like kind of dive a little bit more deep into like how you kind of higher and higher into the drifting community.
Yeah.
I knew like I wasn't going to get to that level / didn't have the funding for that level.
We snowballed for sure.
And you snowballed heavy. So, but I think from from my side too. Like I'd like to speak to.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We can for sure do it. Maybe we'll do first quarter of 2025.
Yeah.
And then by that point, we can talk about like how like the last like couple of years since you haven't drifted have evolved, and like what we're gonna do this year. Because this year we're gonna do a lot. I mean, I don't know if you saw my Instagram post. You know how many new tracks I drove this year?
12.
12
It's one a month.
new unique tracks.
That's awesome, man.
Not even accounting all the tracks that I've already driven. So
I'm just happy to be along for the journey.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that this year, or as of tomorrow this year. It's New Year's Eve. But next year we're gonna do Grid Life. We're gonna do probably 1 or 2 more LS Fests, a bunch of new tracks like Driven Luck, Mid Pond, Clutch Kickers, and like kind of try to not stay in Florida. And then we have the car in Vegas now, so Andrew's gonna be flying out to Vegas with me and doing just a bunch of events out there.
And who knows, maybe I'll grip drive the M4 a little bit if we want to go to some Grid Life events and maybe dabble in drifting.
That's the goal.
You know, like, I don't know. We'll see what the year takes us, man.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd also love to do like a Q&A session. So maybe at some point if we do like some sort of live Q&A session, I'm happy to.
Yeah, it could be cool once we get them followers up. On that note, or subscribers, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the post notifications.
Let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah, subscribe and follow Andrew on his socials. We'll put the handles down below. Thank you guys for staying for like this hour and a half long pod. Hopefully it wasn't too boring, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace. Thanks.